In this episode of Detroit Performs, an artist questions, is it ever possible to truly rest? Creating jewelry out of graffiti, and living out through dance. It's all ahead on this edition of Detroit Performs.
Funding for Detroit Performs is provided by Masco Corporation is proud to manufacture innovative and environmentally friendly products for the home. Delta faucets, craft-made in Merillat cabinets, and Behr brand paints have all been designed with you in mind. Masco and its family of companies, serving Michigan communities since 1929. Funding is also provided by the Michigan Council for Arts and Cultural Affairs, the National Endowment for the Arts, the A. Paul and Carol C. Scott Foundation, and by contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you. Thank you.
It has been an incredible 8th season of Detroit Performs, and I'm taking you back to some of my favorite artists and venues we featured this season. Kicking things off with a Silver Point artist and muralist who asked the question in his latest exhibition, is it possible for us to truly rest? Here is Mario Moore.
Interested in creating a stage that the audience can kind of come into. Art to me has always been involved in my life. I grew up around the DIA. I used to go visit the museum when I was a kid. I would walk through the galleries. But as far as inspiration, that came from my mom, Sabrina Nelson, because I would see her do these large paintings. Just the idea to look at a canvas that's blank or a piece of paper and her just make something was always interesting to me. The way that I begin my work is usually through sketches and ideas. It's usually that I have a thought and I have a process and I sketch out or I think about that thought and I say, what is the best way to portray this thought or to talk about this idea? So that can go to sculpture, that can go to drawing, that can go to video, that can go to painting. But the majority of the time, I'm interested in a massive narrative. We're in the David Klein Gallery, and the show is called Recovery. And the show is about considering how Black men rest and relax and take time for themselves. What happened was I was working on a body of work where I was thinking about myself personally and how I move my body through the world and how the world considers me as a Black man. And then I had brain surgery. I had brain surgery and literally I was forced to rest. So that made me think about things historically, how did historic Black men that we know and the world knows, like a Martin Luther King or a Malcolm X or a W.E.B. Du Bois, and when we look up their names, they're always speaking really loud, they're on the podium, they're always active. In times of turmoil, what we're dealing with today as far as everything politically and socio-economically, how do I rest? Because we're in a similar state. And in some ways, in some senses, as far as education and other things like that, it's worse. It's gone backwards instead of forwards. So, but I'm at the same time, we're human. So these men took vacations. They took time with their family. They took naps. So I started to think about that, and the work presents a question because I don't have the answer. So how do Black men rest? How do they relax? And what does that look like? It has to do with just the history of America, in that Black men and Black people, just in general, we're in the process of constantly having to stay ahead, right? To catch up economically. Since we got to the country, or the Americas, we were slaves. It was things that the country were built on the labor that we put in. So that is passed down as far as trying to catch up. You have to work extremely hard. So the idea of resting and relaxing is not a part of the process when you're always thinking about, what do I need to do next? Silver point is a technique that was used in the 16th and 15th century, and it's literally a piece of silver and drawing with a piece of silver. Most of the silver point drawings that have the historical, like the larger ones that have the historical figures in the background, it's a concept and idea is that can a black man look relaxed and calm and present himself in that way, but also at the same time be powerful. Like, I'm letting the background, the historical figures do all the work for me while I relax. And I think that's, a part of the importance and a part of the process. I like the amount of texture and detail that went into the silver point, but there's a limited number of values that you can reach. So no matter what I draw, no matter how hard the subject matter is, it's always gonna be this softness to it, and I really like that. The other thing I really like about silver point is that you can't erase. So it's almost like drawing with a pen. Like whatever you put down is permanent. Right, so everything that goes into that drawing, you have to deal with it, right? It's there to exist forever. Another thing I like is that in dealing with silver point, you're literally leaving behind silver on paper. So you're creating something that has an initial value. And with the work that I was working on, I'm dealing with a subject matter that people don't see as valuable. America often sees as invaluable as far as black men, and also this idea of rest, this idea of relaxing. So I think that material has worked for me really well in thinking about these ideas and concepts. There's one piece in particular in the show. I read this book called Medical Apartheid. It has to do with the experimentation on black people from slavery to contemporary times. And I also got this huge photography book called Stiff Skulls and Skeletons. Through that book, you can see how they experimented and practiced on cadavers. And the most of the cadavers you will see are black or African American cadavers. And the way that happened is they were like, well, we don't really care about this community, so we can dig up these graves and use these bodies. Right, so those bodies became objects. They weren't even people anymore. So it was like, well, the thing that just happened to me with my brain surgery, what would that look like, back in these times? And I wanted to show opposition to that shine the light on me as a person, as a human being instead of an object, and kind of mute the light on the figures that are above me. The American Bulldog, for me, it's a literal representation of the history of America, and I use it as a symbol for America itself. And often you'll find the dog is sleeping or relaxing as it's ignoring really big issues that are happening right above it. I include history in my work because as far as social issues, we kind of roll around all the time back to similar issues over and over again. So I look at the past and I consider it and I'm saying, well, what was happening then kind of looks like now. What did they do then? What can we do now? What can we do to change it? And what does that look like? I think there's a ton of stuff to take away from this show. I think about a lot of different narratives that go into one piece, but there's a lot of stuff that I don't think about, and I think those are the important things that people that come and see the show, that they can pull out for themselves. I think it's important for the people to answer. Well, these are the things that I've noticed. These are some ideas that I'm thinking about. This is a question that I have. And I think it becomes more participatory, that the people that come and see the show, they provide the answers. I think hearing their perspective and hearing their ideas about resting and what that looked like for them was extremely important. I think hearing my dad talk about how he's worked since he was 16 years old and talking about his perspective was important. But I think the most important thing that happened after the show was I went into the barbershop and one of the barbers that was in there, he told me after seeing my show, he literally took a week off of work. And then also hearing that several men, after seeing the show were going outside and crying, which is like that they honestly never thought in this way. So I think those were probably the most important things that happened.
Rebel Nell is a social enterprise that creates jewelry out of fallen graffiti, but it's so much more than that. The organization also empowers the women it employs. See how now.
One of our #1 rules at Rebel Nell is that you never fall in love with the top layer. It's really what's underneath that's important.
Graffiti is just painted over, painted over, and you have these layers, and everyone has these layers, and once you peel them back, you see different sides of people, different backgrounds, different things that they've been through.
Whoever touched it had her own mind and train of thought when she put it together, so each piece is uniquely different. And I think that's our style.
Rebel Nell started in around March of 2013. Where I was living in Detroit was right next door to COTS. COTS is an amazing organization here in the city, which is abbreviated for the Coalition on Temporary Shelter. It's a women and family only shelter. And I would have conversations with the women, and I learned that these are incredible women who so often left challenging situations in search of a better opportunity, even if it meant going to the shelter. And this was my sort of like aha moment, and I asked my business partner at the time, I said, what if we could provide all the wraparound services, sort of a teach a woman to fish concept? And then what if we could come up with a product that we could employ them, that we could sell, that would then provide all the wraparound services? And then really the concept for Rebel Nell was born then. My business partner and I, Diana, we both had some jewelry making background, and so we thought, what if we could create some Detroit-centric jewelry that would, really pay tribute to the city that we live in, and also, become something cool to wear. And then it wasn't until a run on the DeQuinder Cut when I saw some graffiti on the ground, and that was the light bulb moment for the jewelry.
With every piece of jewelry I create, I put love, energy, affection.
The evolution of Rebel Nell is so much credit is with the actual design team and taking their thoughts and considerations into how we've changed or evolved our process. They're really to be credited for the quality that it is today.
You actually have creative control. So you can choose your piece of graffiti, and it's all about the person who's making it, because each one is different and it's based on our personality.
We start off with a metal sheet and we draw our shapes on it. After we cut that out, we put our graffiti on. And that's another part that I'm not able to say, that how we get that graffiti to pop so beautiful, but we get it on there as pretty as we can get, and then we actually cut, shape, glue, bind. Then after we get all that part processed, we put this resin on it, which makes it shine. Then we sand our edges, clip our piece, make the back, polish it, pop it, and then we drill this hole in it to put the chains on or do our earrings. We do French hook earrings, post-strap earrings, which is one with the ball, and they also dangle. These signature pendants, this is a large piece. We have medium pieces, and then we have really small pieces.
You're wearing a piece of Detroit. There's a piece of history that we've done a great job of being able to encapsulate and preserve. And most of the time it's on silver or brass, depending on your price point, your interest. But you certainly will have a piece that will last you, that you could pass down for generations to come and share in that piece of Detroit. My true mission of why we do Rebel Nell is to provide a transitional opportunity for the women that we hire. We are looking for women who have a desire to change their situation, can work well with others, and a willingness to learn. One of the things I've learned about running Rebel Nell and interacting with all of our incredible employees is just how broken the system really is. And especially the challenges if you're a single mother in trying to maintain a job, right? And you don't have that support system.
I ended up at COTS because unemployment said they overpaid me $4,500. They garnished me for all of my income taxes, including the unemployment which I was receiving, which led to my homelessness.
Brenda is a blessing for this planet. There's nobody who has had a more optimistic and positive attitude, even when life hands her a lot of challenges. And we've experienced quite a few of those with her. And just to see her put on that face of perseverance.
Sometimes just the thought of where I come from and to where I'm going could bring a tear to my eye, but it's a positive tear.
Michelle, she is the little spark plug that we have here at Rebel. She's hilarious. She's gonna go very far. This is just a stepping stone for her.
I seriously am a lot better now than I was.
We have this T program, which is to teach, educate, and achieve. I didn't consider about credit scores, fixing my accounts, what kind of accounts I could have, secured loans, and all those kind of things were taught to me through the T program. I'll be working on home ownership, which is another thing that the T program, like, working here just opened my eyes to a lot. So I'll be a homeowner really soon.
They really helped me become more self-sufficient and like lead me on the correct path and stay on it. Like, this is more like a family setting more than anything, and that's why I love it here.
We also think that the women we employ are really rebelling against what life's dealt to them, and we're dealing with graffiti, which is rebellious in and of itself. And we also wanted to pay tribute to a woman who was a trailblazer before us, Eleanor Roosevelt, and everything she stood for. Her nickname that her dad gave her was Little Nell. We think she is certainly worthy of a stronger nickname, and that's how we came up with Rebel Nell.
Everybody who does graffiti all throughout the city of Detroit, before they had these projects, was considered rebels. People do look at me who went through homelessness, oh, she was rebellious, she didn't follow the rules, she didn't do what she was supposed to do to get there. So when I get that graffiti, I get to change it into something awesome that you never knew somebody that was a rebel could do something so great.
When you look forward to going to work, that's when you found, your niche. Like, you come in and we're just happy.
We're cousins. I tell everybody that. That's really what I say. We are all cousins here, and we share food, ideas, thoughts. Is a plus.
I know that most of the purchasers understand how special a piece of Rebel Nell really is. And again, going back to not only because it's one of a kind and through the cross-section of graffiti, but also because of the woman who made it and what that really is doing to make a difference is really powerful. It stands that you believe in empowering women. It stands for you believe in promoting equality and making a difference in this world.
We show people that we're women transitioning out of homelessness, and we can do this. It's never too late to focus on your dreams and do whatever it is you feel like you want to do.
Dancer and choreographer Kristi Faulkner collaborated with the Ruth Ellis Center on creating a performance that the LGBTQ dancers could share their talents and their stories. The performance premiered right here at Ant Hall. Take a look.
The thing that I love the most about dance, I think, is just the opportunity to express yourself.
Everybody has their own story, whether you be black, white, gay, straight, bi, whatever.
We're here to take pride in who we are and actually put that out there to people so that they are comfortable enough to do the same.
I think this project is great for opening up, hopefully, the minds of whoever comes to see it.
So I'm just going to start at the top of the show and work my way through. Crafting a show, to me, is something that just really feeds my soul and really motivates me. Not in My House is a collaboration between myself and my company, Kristi Faulkner Dance, and the Ruth Ellis Center. So Not in My House is a term that a lot of LGBTQ people have heard. Suppress who you are, or do not be in my house, right? It is a message a lot of LGBTQ youth get. And so that's one side of the title. The other side of Not in My House is that we will not tolerate discrimination and prejudice towards people who are LGBTQ.
This one time at work, it was this really cute straight guy that came up to my register.
This performance piece, I look at as a creative retelling of coming out stories.
There's a lot of different stories being told. Just what our experiences were to come out, the struggles, a lot of the things that we actually have gained from it.
We're here to tell the story. I'm here, living another day.
This project is exploring self-identity and the awareness of the LGBT community and how we're not a lot of times accepted within our own families, so how we often go outside of our families to find families and safe havens. A lot of times we tend to go towards clubs where we feel more comfortable to.
A lot of the movement material comes from voguing and different types of movement vocabulary that is particular to LGBTQ culture.
Vogue is just like an amazing outlet as far as the style of dance. There are no rules. I like being able to sometimes feel even more feminine one day, and another day I might be a little bit more rough. Like Vogue gives you the opportunity to change that dynamic and be able to be whatever you want to be at that moment.
So it's really just about like drawing it out so you don't have like pauses. As a choreographer, my approach is to work very collaboratively with the people that I'm involved with in a project. We explore a lot of ideas and then start to develop movement material. And then I view my role as the one who sort of like strings it all together and crafts it into something that makes sense.
Kristi is awesome as a director. I think that I really love the fact that she's allowing us to artistically just move organically through space.
I personally think that the most interesting audio score are the stories.
So the guys, they start to pull and snatch and bully people out of the car, taking anything they can get their hands on. Phones, wallets, purses, whatever. And I'm like, OMG, why me?
I am trans. The biggest part about people not understanding me is just they don't understand my lifestyle. And because they think it's so much different than theirs, when in actuality it's very similar, just depending on what type of person they are. This actually allows me to not only give my story, but to be able to understand other people's stories.
And if I'm hot shot, mama, cut my hair at night.
My story is derived from my hair. My first year in high school, I was very involved in ministry. I actually was leading in ministry at that point. And I got called into the office that I needed to change my appearance. My hair was too long. So I struggled with that, and I actually cut my hair because I thought it was the right thing to do at the time. But now that I have grown and realized that that was a big part of me conforming to what I shouldn't have been. Just knowing that things like that, little things like that could make or break someone. You know, make or break their confidence and how they view themselves, how they can love themselves. And I think that that is a big part of what my story is about. And I just want to encourage those people to, no matter what, be yourself.
I just wanna be myself, and I want you to know I am my hair.
I think there's a lot of stories that we share that, yes, they are particular to LGBTQ people, but they also have a sort of universality to them that other people can identify with.
But Sarah's married, so we just remained pretty good friends, and I just admired her from afar.
I think other people can connect with my story specifically because I'm sure most people have been there. We've all had like someone we've been super in love with or super infatuated with or someone we just like want to be around. I think everyone's been there.
If you're able to identify with somebody and their story and their experience who you might see as like different from you, you feel like maybe you do share something in common, and hopefully people can become a little bit more tolerant then. I think if you are true to the authentic stories, if you're true to representing people as their authentic selves, then that shows.
Everyone has came up with, different phrases that we say throughout the show. These are all of the things that create our identity. Some of them are negative, some of them are positive, but it's life. And I think that that's the story that we need to tell on stage. This is the life that we're living.
Be aggressive. Be aggressive.
What's important about this show and this experience is then continuing that conversation about what did you see? What does it mean to be LGBTQ?
In this experience, I've learned so much about people within the community because even though I am a part of the LGBTQ community, I necessarily don't know much about the L's or the B's. And so I'm able to hear their stories and be a little more compassionate and understanding to where everybody's coming from.
I think I would like to have more conversations about safe places, more like the Ruth Ellis Center, places that we can go and actually let out and be ourselves.
For me, it's about visibility. really, like plain and simply. Growing up, I didn't know gay people. I didn't know trans people. I didn't know any non-binary people. I didn't even know what those things were. And I think for young people today, we have more visibility of LGBTQ people. But I think it's important to also have visibility within your own communities. And so for people in the Detroit community to look and see, here's a person within my own community who is not afraid to speak out about their identity, who is not afraid to shine who they are, and not just myself, but all of these dancers that are performing, everybody identifies as LGBTQ. To see people proudly standing up and speaking their truth, saying who they are, being their authentic selves, I think means a lot to young people.
And that wraps it up for this best of Season 8 of Detroit Performs. As always, for more arts and culture, head to DetroitPerforms.org, where you'll find featured videos, blogs, and information on upcoming arts events. Also, check us out on Facebook and Twitter. And keep watching for more astounding artists that we are so lucky to have in the D. Until next Tuesday, get out there and show the world how Detroit performs, y'all. I'm DJ Oliver. Thanks for watching, guys.
Funding for Detroit Performs is provided by Masco Corporation is proud to manufacture innovative and environmentally friendly products for the home. Delta Faucets, craft-made in Merillat cabinets, and Behr brand paints have all been designed with you in mind. Masco and its family of companies, serving Michigan communities since 1929. Funding is also provided by the Michigan Council for Arts and Cultural Affairs, the National Endowment for the Arts, the A. Paul and Carol C. Scott Foundation, and by contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you. Thank you.